Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Leo Stage. I'm the 2016 president of the Redford Township Chamber of Commerce and also the manager of the Cardinal Barber and Hair Salon here in Redford Township. Pardon?
Microphone, Leo.
It won't stay up. Better? What if I go down here? Okay, how's this? What if I just grab it, if it comes out of it? There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Leo.
I apologize. I welcome you all, and I thank you for participating in our event tonight. A few months back, the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors thought it would be great to put on one of these forums. In our normal chamber events, we do not allow any politicking whatsoever, so we thought we need to have something specific for politics, because we never endorse candidates in any way, shape, or form. We felt it was important to have this forum, so we got a hold of the League of Women Voters, and we thank them. They so graciously are taking this event over, and they do a wonderful job. They're very professional, and they're going to present it to you tonight. I'd also like to thank all the candidates who are here and this evening, who will be supporting or participating in this event. It's an important process. We felt it was, and we're thankful that we can put it on for you tonight here. Also, I'd like to thank one last person, Brian Galdes, Superintendent of South Redford Schools. He is on our Board of Directors with the Chamber of Commerce, and when first heard of this event, he says, I have the location for you, it's perfect, and it's a wonderful facility, and we thank you, Brian, for having us here today. Without further ado, I turn it over to the League of Women Voters.
Good evening, and welcome to the Candidates Forum presented by the League of Women Voters of Northwest Wayne County, along with the Redford Chamber of Commerce. My name is Angela Ryan, and I am the president of the local league. Tonight, we welcome the candidates running for the Redford Township Supervisor, Clerk, Treasurer, and Board of Trustees. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. We do not support or oppose any candidate running for any office. The League does take positions on issues after careful study, so you may occasionally see our name attached to an issue that we are advocating for or opposing. Membership in the League is open to all citizens of voting age, so if you're interested in joining this public service organization, please contact one of the League members here this evening, or go to our website, lwvnorthwestwayne.org. The League's main mission is to promote political responsibility through informed and active participation in government. One of the ways we do that is by having forums such as this one tonight. The League is also preparing a nonpartisan voter guide, which can be found online at www.vote411.org in early July. Print copies of the voter guide will be available at the Redford Library around the 4th of July. You can also find the link to the voter guide on our website, which again is lwvnorthwestwayne.org. If you would like to ask questions of the candidates, and we particularly encourage it this evening because right now we don't have very many questions, please write your question on a card and hand it to one of the ushers in the aisle. And we have one lady here and one lady over there, so they are both more than ready to get your questions. They have cards and pens for you to write them down. Our moderator will ask as many questions as time allows. Questions should be brief, to the point, and should not include personal attacks on the candidates. We reserve the right to screen the questions for duplication and clarity. And one other point, do not address a question to a particular candidate, because in any of the different parts of the forum, we will ask the question of all the candidates running for that office. All of the candidates running for Redford Township offices on the August 2nd primary election ballot are Democrats. This means that the winners of the August primary will run unopposed in the November election, unless there are write-in candidates. Your vote in the August primary is critical if you want a choice in who your township officials will be. Our forum tonight is in 4 parts, beginning with the candidates running for supervisor, followed by the treasurer candidates, then the clerk candidates, and ending with the Board of Trustee candidates. Each of these city positions is for a 4-year term. We will have a short 5-minute break in between each segment, so please stay seated during this change. The views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates and not of the League of Women Voters or the Redford Chamber of Commerce. At this time, I would like to introduce you to our moderator, League member Anne Marie Graham-Hudak.
Good evening. We're pleased that you could join us tonight as we hear from the candidates running for the Redford Township Supervisor, which you see up on the stage. Following will be the Clerk, Treasurer, and Board of Trustees. Our forum will be in 4 parts, as Angela said briefly. The first half hour will be devoted to the Supervisor candidates. There are 5 candidates running for Supervisor. 4 of them will introduce themselves in a moment. Tom O'Connor, the 5th candidate, had a long-standing previous engagement and could not attend tonight's forums. As Angela said, our questions tonight are coming from the audience, and we have also received a number of questions emailed to us in advance. Each candidate will be allowed a 1-minute opening statement, a 1-minute response to all the questions, and a 1-minute closing statement. We will rotate the order of the candidate who responds first. In all of our forums tonight, the candidates are seated in alphabetical order. League member Sue is our timer. We have her down there. Want to raise your hand? I don't know if you can see her because of the lights, but I'll help you along there. She will be holding up cards so that the candidates know when their time is up. Let's begin our opening statements. With you, Mr. Bailey. Good to go.
There's time restraints, so I'm going to read what I've got. Hello, folks. My name is Jim Bailey, and I'm part of the Redford Reform Ticket. The ticket consists of people seeking local public office whose chief purpose is to change Redford. That means no more illegal government activity, no more government bullying and harassment, no more deceit and manipulation, no more family business type of government where friends and family members get jobs, all of which has been going on for decades. I'm not here to ask you to love me. I'm not even here to ask you to like me. I'm just asking for you to help change Redford so it's more professional, less fragmented, and gives you the better government that you deserve. I'm also here to make a business proposition with you. If I'm not reelected in 4 years with a couple of reservations, I will give 1/5 of my 4-year income back to the people of Redford in the form of an endowment in the Greater Redford Community Foundation. I'm the only candidate that's offering you the money back guarantee.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy.
Yes, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Chamber for hosting this. My name is Patricia Kennedy, and I am running for Redford Township Supervisor. I am one of 8 children. My father, Edward Kennedy, was Township Treasurer, serving the community from 64 to 84. I'm a lifelong resident of Redford, and I'm a graduate of Thurston in 1976. Looking forward to my 40-year reunion this coming October. I have an associate's degree in administration. I own and operate a small computer repair business in Redford. I have a deep love for animals, and I am a certified dog trainer, shelter trainer, and a certified dog groomer. Since 1998, I have owned and operated a computer repair business in Redford. I understand the needs and concerns of local business owners. During the daily course of business, I have the opportunity to speak with customers and other small businesses.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Kovalarts.
My name is Tracy Schultz-Kovalars. I'm presently the Township Supervisor here in Redford. I have a bachelor's degree from Central Michigan University in Community Development. I'm also a fellow from the Michigan State University Michigan Political Leadership Program and hold other credentials through the Township Governance Academy and the Michigan Township Association. During the most difficult financial times that this country has faced, let alone our township, I have been the one responsible for presenting balanced budgets, and I've done that to the degree that we have been able to practically eliminate a $10.2 million structural deficit under my leadership. Under the benefits and changes that we negotiated with our unions, with our labor groups, with the board, I think that we've made the progress that we need in order to make sure that Redford Township is a financially viable community, not only for today, but years to come.
Thank you. Mr. McCray.
Yeah, my name is Pat McCray. I'm running for Redford Township Supervisor. I'm a 40-year resident. I'm married to Betsy. We have 5 children and 7 grandchildren. I'm in the 12th year serving on your board as a trustee. I have 15 years experience on the Planning and Site Committee, and I have recently retired from Ford Motor Company after 30 years of service, and I'm a proud UAW retiree. Communication is very important to everybody in our community. And after talking to business owners and residents, there seems to be a disconnect between the current administration and the people of Redford Township. I promise you that if I'm elected, that I will mend that fence, increasing the communication, and better serve the people of Redford Township.
Okay. Thank you. Angela Ryan is going to read an opening statement from Tom O'Connor that we received via email.
Remember, these are not my words, these are Mr. O'Connor's words. Greetings, neighbors. Sorry I couldn't be with you this evening. I am hosting some Russian missionaries in mid-Michigan tonight at a youth forum. I am concerned about the next generation, and particularly the next generation in Redford Township. Leadership and conventional wisdom has been lacking in Redford for many years, and having spent the last 35 years working to improve the quality of life for individuals, I ask you to consider supporting me, Tom O'Connor, for Redford Township Supervisor. I have served 17 and a half years as a community leader, holding positions like Redford Township's Youth Director, the Youth Service Coordinator, and Prevention Coordinator, then finally as Constituent Service Director. Through these various roles, I have developed a unique leadership style and a vision for this community. I will be unfolding that vision over the next several weeks through various methods in your neighborhoods. If you do not find the type of leadership you're looking for on the panel this evening, do not despair. There's a better choice. If you want to know more, you may call me directly at 313-300-0403. Thank you, Tom O'Connor.
Our first question will begin with Mr. Bailey. Current politics in Michigan is toxic to unions and collective bargaining. Do you support collective bargaining, and explain your response?
Lifelong philosophy of believing in the unions. It's important to have the unions in terms of counterbalancing ownership, and that's what it is. It creates a balance within the workplace. If you look at history, then you can see the importance that the unions have played. That's it. I'm in support of the unions to a degree that you don't have 20, 30, 40 people that can hold whole communities hostage. So it is collective agreement that you can come down to a common goal that can you move the community forward.
Thank you. Ms. Kennedy?
Yes, I'm in support of unions and collective bargaining. It gives workers a fair wage for a fair day's work. It also gives them a safe work environment, and it brings the working people together.
Thank you. Ms. Kobelarz?
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry.
Absolutely.
And I'll give you 5 seconds extra.
Absolutely. Still, 3 times, absolutely. Collective bargaining and union membership is critical to the long-term success and the short-term success of the township. I already mentioned that we eliminated a $10.2 million structural deficit, and we did that because our unions were willing to work with us. The challenge is that once we ask for concessions, unfortunately, those are concessions. And in order for us to move forward, we have to work from that new base. And that's hard. Tough times call for tough leadership, call for tough bargaining, but our unions have really stepped up. One thing I am not supportive of is the Right to Work initiative that says that an employee has the right to get all of the benefits that our union members pay for and bargain for without paying for it themselves.
Thank you. Ready, Sue?
Good point, yes.
Okay. Mr. McCray?
I support collective bargaining. I'm a UAW member for 30 years. I know what unions mean to our country, to our state, and to our community. They set the standard so that we all have a good life, productive life, and we can support our families in the way that it's supposed to. I've sat on the bargaining team for the Redford firefighters and contract negotiations. At my local union, I served as an officer, as a reporting secretary at Local 245, so I understand the importance of unions, and I support collective bargaining 100%.
Thank you. Ms. Kennedy, you'll begin the second question. Do you believe that labor that serves Redford citizens deserve overtime and increasing standard of living?
Yes, that if overtime is needed, I believe that to get the work done, they should also, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Can you repeat that question?
Do you believe that the labor that serves Redford citizens deserve overtime and an increasing standard of living?
Am I
Yeah.
going to start the timer again?
No.
That for the fair wages and collective, that it does, giving them the fair wages, give them a better cost of living standard.
Thank
And
you.
I believe in that.
Thank you. Ready? Next.
Yes.
Ms. Kovalarts?
Our employees across the board are sorely underpaid. We know that. We have done our studies, we have done our homework. If money were available on trees, everybody would have significant raises. We can't give raises or make up overtime just so people can make more money. That would not be fiscally responsible, however. But our people need to have a reasonable and good quality of life. When we have to keep cutting pay, when our people have to keep taking pay cuts or paying more towards benefits, it not only hurts them and their family, it hurts the community. They have less money to spend on things that make our community great. They can't frequent restaurants, they can't go out for entertainment. So we do need to make sure that we pay our people appropriately.
Thank you. Mr. McCray?
Well, I believe anything over 40 hours is overtime. I think that if we're working overtime, there has to be a purpose and a reason we're doing it. And we should find out if there's a better way we can do it so we don't have to work the overtime to save taxpayers money. But it's important to know that if you're out there working, you pass 40 hours a week, your time is valuable and what you're doing is valuable to our residents, and everybody should be paid appropriately.
Thank you. And Mr. Bailey?
The bottom line is, I believe in fairness. You know, if they deserve to get paid, they get paid. Thing is, it's not my philosophy to go out of my way to screw people over. In 2015, the budget, I believe, the fire was budgeted for like $300,000 overtime. That's a defect within the system. Just to pay overtime for the sake of paying overtime because you don't have staff. You need to find solutions around that.
Thank you. Our next question will begin with Ms. Kovalarts. The current methods to alleviate Redford's blight crisis do not appear to be working, and the problem is driving citizens away from our community. What processes can you suggest to reduce the number of blighted homes and buildings?
Blight is a huge problem, not only here, but everywhere. So far this year, we have written over 550 high grass tickets. 550, and the grass season really just started. Last year, we issued, I think, over 8,000 ordinance tickets. That's a problem. The problem really began during the mortgage foreclosure crisis back in 2008, 9, 10, and 11, when you could buy a property here for a song. We had an influx of landlords as opposed to property owners. The landlords don't have the same commitment to the property that we have. We have to continue to stay strong, continue to be very aggressive, very, very aggressive, and be fair and consistent with it. Some people don't like when they get a ticket. I'm sorry you don't like it, but I'm also sorry that you're not cutting your grass.
Thank you. Mr. McCray?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. The current methods to alleviate Redford's blight crisis do not appear to be working, and the problem is driving citizens away from our community. What processes can you suggest to reduce the number of blighted homes and buildings?
Well, the way I see it is that we have a SNAP program that's helping to slowly get rid of the blighted properties as we speak and restore ownership in our township. The other thing is that as far as the grass cutting goes, that we need to be more aggressive with it. We need to make sure that we have a plan B, that if for some reason the weather is not letting our contractor get to those properties and cut the grass, that we should have a secondary contractor that we attack that and get that done. Okay. As far as how else we can address it, you know, we have a problem that a home that goes vacant, it doesn't go back to foreclosure until 3 years in. And as long as somebody's paying those taxes, they own the property, and that causes a problem.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Ready for next? Mr. Bailey?
Again, it comes down to being fair across the board. What we tend to do is we use whatever method to go after the citizens in order to produce revenue. There was one supervisor in the past in the State of the Township address bragged about how much money he made off the citizens. The purpose of going after the, trying to enforce the ordinances is to correct the behavior, not to be a moneymaker for the township. There are techniques that have been developed. The mayor of New York had a philosophy that he wouldn't tolerate any type of graffiti or anything of that nature. He stepped on it right away, and it did have an effect upon vandalism and also blight within the community. What we can do is look at what other people are doing, what's been successful, and do the same thing here.
Thank you. Ms. Kennedy?
One thing we can do is, I know the ordinance officers go through the township and they do write the tickets, but we need to make sure they follow up and see, you know, what the status is on these blighted properties and make, you know, keep it enforced if have to. Unfortunately, some of them are taken to court because they continue to ignore fixing their problems. And that is something, you know, we would have to work with the ordinance officers to make sure that they keep up on the issues here.
Thank you. Mr. McCray, you'll begin the next question. What is your vision to fund new revenue streams for the township?
Well, I think that we've been talking about it for quite a while, for several years, about having a grant writer, and we never seem to get there. I think a grant writer will help us bring revenue in that we're not realizing right now to do the things that we need to do to make sure Redford stays and gets better than what it is now. I mean, we need that grant writer. And we have there's an opportunity to get a grant writer not for $60,000, but for a $10,000 fee. And you know, if we go that way, depending on how they do on the grant writing, it depends if we keep or not. But we can generate revenue that way.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey?
Having grant writers is great, but the problem is, like several years ago, we had a grant writer by the name of Sidney Blitz. He produced all the grant writing for Redford Township. The problem is he created the bottleneck. Everything had to go through him. What the Greater Redford Community Foundation has done in the past is tried to hold grant writing classes so that people out of different community groups, government, whatever, would know how to write grants. And what we could do is spread out that labor so that you have multiple people seeking grants at the same time. The other thing is in order to get revenue, what we can do is look at what we're spending money on now and try to leverage it. What we do is we have multiple islands within the community. We have the Redford Township, you got North Redford Schools, you got South Redford Schools, you've got different organizations, everybody doing their own thing. If we work together and head in the same direction, then these small amounts of money can be leveraged to accomplish great things.
Thank you. Ms. Kennedy?
Okay, one thing we can do is to attract more businesses, you know, convince them that Redford is the best place to establish their business. That would attract people into moving back into the township, filling these empty houses that we have that are sitting vacant, that we're not getting the taxes from. This would bring in more money, tax base into the township that we can then have a domino effect on more businesses, more people. People want to spend more in the township and hopefully would improve our township that much more.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey, you'll begin the next question. Westland recently hired contractors to eliminate the appearance of blight and charge the owners of these vacant properties a
I don't think I answered that one. Did I?
No.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Checked out. Go ahead.
Excuse me. Start your clock.
That's okay, go ahead.
So, Generating new revenue is great if there's new revenue to be generated. We have to also be very, very conscious of existing revenue and revenue losses. Over the last 8 years, we have had to look at not even property tax values, but look at the shrinking pool of grants that were available, of people that just couldn't give anymore. So to answer Mr. Bailey about so many local groups, that was phenomenal. Those local groups were what kept us alive. They were the ones that supported us with their cash donations, their physical donations, to do things like the fireworks, the concerts in the parks, the baseball leagues, softball leagues. That was new revenue, but we had to do that. In addition to that, we had to look at different ways that we were doing business. And we did that through streamlining operations by cutting our costs, by not replacing people who were leaving. There wasn't an option for new revenue. We had to keep
Thank
the
you.
revenue we had.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey, Westland recently hired contractors to eliminate the appearance of blight and charged the owners of these vacant properties a $250 fine that was rolled onto their taxes. Can Redford do the same?
The legalities of it, I don't know, but we've been doing it for years. When I used to clean the river from one end to the other, the amount of stuff that was dumped in the river was tremendous. It's been there for years. I think we pulled out like 400 wet tons. So whether it's contractors or the township or volunteers to collect this stuff, especially when somebody becomes foreclosed and then they dump the whole house onto the front yard, you know, that just pulls the whole community down. There's got to be a better way of doing things.
Thank you. Ms. Kennedy?
It depends on the contractor, what they're talking about on blight, you know, replacing the roof. Are they talking about repainting the house? Those I don't know legally if that can be done. I know some cities, I've been told, charge that much just to cut their lawn if it has not been cut. So we would need to speak with our lawyer to see if we would be allowed to impose that kind of fee on these vacant buildings that need to be revitalized.
Thank you. Ms. Kovalarz?
I'm going to look now to make sure. Redford Township already has a program like that. Westland charges a fee for $250 to cut grass. Our fee is $75 the first time, $150 the second time, $300 the third time, and if you don't fix it, we bring you to court. It is legal, it has been proven, and we've been doing it for years. We don't want to have to ticket people, we want to get the problem solved. Unfortunately, sometimes it does take us those steps, which can take up to 3 to 6 months to get somebody into court to take care of a blight problem.
Thank you. Ready? Mr. McCray?
That's true, we do have, we do charge people when we go and cut their property if it's a vacant property. But what we need to do is work with the county and our state legislatures to try to change the law so that there's not that long period of time that residents have to put up with the blight next door to them. Like I said before, that it doesn't go back onto the tax roll until you're behind 3 years, and then we have an opportunity. I think that it's really important that we shorten that amount of time because nobody wants that house next to them or down the street because all it does is bring trouble.
Thank you. Ready, Sue? Our next question will be starting with Ms. Kennedy. Would you support a change in how the defined pension plans for police and fire are handled? If so, what changes would you recommend?
That's something I would leave up to the collective bargaining. That's what we pay our bargaining people to handle. I know that has been a big issue in the township. The pensions for the police continue to grow, and we do need to put some kind of cap on that.
Thank you. Ms. Kovalarz?
Defined pensions are collectively bargained benefit. We do that negotiations. We don't pay people to do that for us. The bargaining teams consist of representatives from each labor group, the township, and occasionally labor council. The challenge with our pension system is that it is sorely underfunded. The police and fire pensions are funded through a special assessment. They will always be funded because the voters approved that millage to pay for police and fire pensions. I think that we've made some headway in terms of some concessions that we have already received from both our police and our fire personnel. I think that we need to pay attention to our general employees because that one is even more underfunded.
Thank you. Mr. McCray.
Okay. I think that the pensions it's a contract, a negotiated item. I think we always need to look at ways to get things done at a less cost to the township, but we also have to remember that people are working their whole lives here and then giving things to the township as far as our police, our fire, and our made people. They work very hard for us, so they deserve their pension, but we have a responsibility in the contract negotiations to do what's best with the dollars that we have that are supplied by our taxpayers.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey.
It all goes back to being fair pay for fair work. The individual works here for a period of time. They should have the same advantages what the elected officials have in terms of retirement and whatever. What needs to be done, that said, it needs to be looked at and get rid of such things that are built into contracts where you have like revolving doors and things of that nature. Where we're taking, instead of just for politics, what we do is we take a responsibility. We have a fiduciary relationship or responsibility to the public.
Thank you. Due to time constraints, that will wrap up the questions. We're now going to begin with our closing statements, and our first closing statement will begin with Mr. McCray.
I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and the League of Women Voters for giving us this opportunity. Feeling safe in your home, your children's school, your place of worship, or shopping in Redford Township and supporting local business is very important. That's why it's essential that our police and fire department has the right amount of personnel and the equipment to do their jobs. And this is a promise I make to you that I will work hard to make sure that happens always. And I'd also like to, at this time, make an announcement that I'm very proud to say that I've been endorsed by the Redford Township Firefighters Union. I'm very proud of that. If you want to know more about myself, you can go to my Facebook account, patmccray.com. The election is just around the corner on August 2nd, and I'd appreciate any and all of your support during this election. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kovalarz.
Thank you to the League, thank you to the Chamber, and for those of you here and those of you at home who are watching tonight. The last 8 years have been challenging ones for Redford Township, but we managed it well. It has not been easy, but we made it through. We're now seeing the fruits of our hard work, our labor over the past 8 years. We have eliminated blight to the degree that we have spent over $10 million on rehab and demolition of properties. We hired 52 firefighters and police officers since 2012. 52. We have made commitments to buy another fire engine, bringing us to two brand new rescue squads, and an entire fleet of police cars. We have been doing those things because we have kept our eye on the bottom line. We have been working very hard with you, for you, and with our community partners. And if it weren't for everybody working together, we wouldn't be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kennedy.
Yes. I again want to thank everybody for being here. I do feel that public safety is number one in our township, and to keep the police patrolling in throughout the subdivisions to make sure that our streets and homes are still safe for everybody, knowing that they are being protected. I also feel we can get businesses into this township and revitalize and get rid of all the empty, dotted commercial buildings that are throughout the township. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey.
I want to thank everybody also. I'm also asking you to vote for the Redford Reform ticket. As of this date, it is myself, Jim Bailey for Supervisor, Kenya Harper Black and Chris Williams for Trustee, Steve Garrett and Jerry Lillis for Parks Commissioner, and Joan Riley and Jerry Lillis for Precinct Delegate. The ticket will be growing with people who seek change for Redford and therefore a better Redford. None of the middle-of-the-road candidates or those who are willing to commit will be on the ticket. We already have those types in government. The people who did the illegal activities, supported the illegal activities, stood by and watched them, and those who do not have a clue will be replaced with people who want change and something better. Help us help you by voting the Redford Reform ticket. yourcommunities.info/reform. That's yourcommunitys.info/reform is a website page under construction to provide you with the facts as to what's been going on in the community. And this is from a money-back guarantee candidate.
Thank you. We'd like to thank the candidates who participated in tonight's forum for the Redford Township Supervisor. We ask the audience to remain seated while we take a quick break to set up for the forum for the treasurers. Welcome again to the Candidates Forum, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Northwest Wayne County. The second part of our forum features the two candidates running for the Redford Township Treasurer. Each candidate will be allowed 1 minute for an opening statement, 1 minute to respond to questions, and a 1 minute for a closing statement. Let's begin with Ms. Kavanaugh.
Good afternoon or evening. I believe it's evening. My name is Lily Kavanaugh. I am the current treasurer of the Charter Township of Redford. Our family has been active in Redford Township for many years. Not only Redford, but surrounding communities. Charities such as the Redford Goodfellows, the Dearborn Heights Goodfellows, the St. Val Thanksgiving dinners, and other activities that our whole family has contributed to and continue to do so. Our children have gone to AmeriCorps. We're a family of giving back to the community, and this was even before I took this position. I continue to care for the residents of Redford and will try to help in any way I can.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Redford Chamber of Commerce for this opportunity for voters to get to know their candidates. And speaking of which, my name is Lynn Ellen. It's Lynn E. and Lynn again. And I'm running for Township Treasurer because I can bring expertise, especially in investing government funds, that's just not there now. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration, a master's degree in public administration, and I'm an advanced certified public funds investment manager. I'm a Michigan certified professional treasurer. I've been working in government finance since 1998. I'm currently the Treasury accountant for Royal Oak, and I am known as the go-to person in that office, and actually for a couple of them, previous places I've worked. And I want to serve my community to make it fiscally stronger.
Thank you. Our first question will begin with Ms. Kavanaugh. What is your vision to fund new revenue streams for the township?
I think being a treasurer is difficult to bring in streams, but I think the previous panel touched upon many things that we could do together, is to get grant writers. And I understand that the grants are dwindling, but we have to do what we can to search out for the money that's still out there. There are many programs that we can tap into. There are programs that we are trying to reach out in as far as the development and community that we have tried to better with the blight and work with contractors to make a better place in home ownership.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Actually, my closing statement is going to deal with this, so I don't want to say too much in here. But like I say, investing government funds could bring in a lot more money if it's done well. You need somebody who knows how to do a good cash flow analysis and implement that. Your basic revenue streams for government are taxes, and those are pretty much set. Your state revenue sharing, which the state keeps playing with, and different fees for services. But I think an untapped source here would be the investing of our government funds optimally, get it done as best as we can.
Thank you. Ms. Allen, Westside recently hired contractors to eliminate the appearance of blight and charge the owners of these vacant properties a $250 fine that can roll onto their taxes. Should Redford do the same?
Well, it's a matter of having an ordinance, and we probably have ordinances already in place for that. You know, for blight, there was, trying to see where I had that, but there was one community, what they did is they took a police officer, you know, like the mayor and another person, people who would know the community, and drove them around and did an assessment and then made a plan to attack the problem. And that may be another option to attack it. But your, you know, your ordinances are the teeth to get it done.
Thank you. Ms. Kavanaugh?
I think that our ordinance officers have teeth. They're out there all the time. They're writing tickets for the rat problem. They're handing out boxes. You have the animal control officer that's also attending to everything that they see out in the community. We have to try to see what we can do with the courts to see if we can move these people along quicker. Because putting these items on the taxes isn't always the solution. Many people, again, I think the previous panel said, it takes 3 years in order for foreclosure. And once there's a foreclosure, it erases everything that is owed delinquent. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kavanaugh, our millage rate is one of the highest in Wayne County. Why is that?
Well, the millage rates are made up by several items. The school millages, the SAD. A lot of the millages are voted on by the school districts, by the residents that have voted the SAD in order to have the money for the operations of the police and fire. We're really hard pressed to lower the millages. I think we did very well with the SAD and not raising it. I think that we're on the road to not raising and trying to do everything we can to not raise the millage, but we're hard pressed to reduce it.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Yeah, millages are either set by charter, the township charter, you know, state law, or they're voted in. Our biggest for the township is the police and fire pension. That was 9.45. And the schools, if you are not if your residence isn't a primary residence, that's 18 mills, 9 mills on each bill. So that's a pretty hefty one right there. We also, like I said, the SAD is another 6.85 mills. And you know, part of the problem is, you know, we're not a city, and to try to provide services like one, you have to bring in a revenue stream, and taxes are our #1 revenue stream.
Thank you. Ms. Allen, how does a township treasurer interact with the county treasurer?
Well, #1, you are bonded through the county. So, you know, you fill out forms to get your bonding. And then the other thing you do is a tax settlement. You have to make sure that all of your taxable values are right, match the assessor's taxable values, that you have dispersed the funds, because you collect funds for the schools, for the state, for the county, and so you're dispersing all of those funds. And your settlement is, you know, showing what was supposed to be paid, what was paid, if there's any differences, and you work with your county treasurer with that kind of thing.
Thank you. Ms. Kavanaugh?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. How does the township treasurer interact with the county treasurer?
I think Ms. Ellen has mentioned the mechanics of it. I think that a lot of what we do with the Wayne County Treasurer is also working in tandem. We look at what they are doing in order to collect the delinquencies, the communication of who's paid, who hasn't, because I think a lot of it has to do with the information that the Wayne County Treasurer has to trickle down to us. I think that also going to some of the Wayne County Treasurers Association meetings in order for you to talk to not only the Wayne County Treasurer in person, but to also talk to other treasurers.
Thank you. Ms. Kavanaugh, has the budget in the Treasurer's Department increased in the past 4 years? Do you anticipate a budget increase in the next fiscal year?
My budget, or the Treasurer's budget has not increased in the last 4 years. A lot of what I've done in my staffing, a lot of what we've done as a team in both my departments in lowering overtime as best we can. Because I think, like the previous panel explained, there are times where you have extenuating circumstances that they need to take some overtime for whatever the reason. A lot of times in my the water department, that the machine doesn't run the way it should. And so sometimes you have to do that in order to get what the residents need on time.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Well, if I were in the treasurer's office, I know that we would spend a whole lot less on training and conferences because I'm already well-trained. And we have spent, as taxpayers, over $11,000 I did an analysis of the treasurer's budget, and we've spent over $11,000 in training and conferences over the years that Treasurer Kavanaugh has been there. So I know I would save money there. I worked for the city of Hudsonville, and I was both their treasurer and their finance director, and I brought that budget way under budget. You just watch your spending, don't give in to every frivolous need. Just get what you need. My mother used to say, "Lynn, you're just too damn practical." So that's and that I am, and so I spend for what's practically needed.
Thank you. Ms. Allen, what is your biggest goal for Redford as your duty as a treasurer?
Like I said, I want to make it fiscally strong, and I want to improve the investment of government funds and make sure that we're not leaving, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table. Through my expertise, I know I could increase that number, that income, and I will give an example of that in my closing statement.
Thank you. Ms. Kavanaugh?
I think what I've brought to Redford Township is the fact that we've worked well together in all departments. My departments specifically, especially disconnected. I think what I want to bring to Redford is the fact that our budgets are set by the board, that our spending is supervised by everyone. The fact that education is so important, that my budget doesn't just consist of me. And we have to recall that in 2008, the downturn to the stock market was phenomenal. We were in like the previous panel said, in a deficit of $10 million.
Thank you. Ms. Allen? Okay, I'm sorry, you answered that. Ms. Kavanaugh, if money were not an object, what changes would you make in the treasurer's office?
Oh my gosh. I would reopen the cashiering at Town Hall. I think that I would have to take a long look and seeing how much money we're talking about. But I think we have to be frugal. We have to understand that every year things change. Every 4 years there's changes. And I think that with the downturn of the stock market, it was very difficult to look for the golden goose egg. And I also feel that with rates the way they were or are currently, we have not gotten a step up, minimal, but also the money that's available in the township itself.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Well, I know that we've talked earlier about how the employees have made concessions, so I think you would, I would make sure that they're brought up to snuff first. Make sure they've got the best equipment they can to work with, to serve the residents as quickly as possible and as smoothly as possible. And I think that's about it.
Thank you. We're going to now begin our closing segment. So I'll take a moment. Are you ready, Sue? Yep. Okay. We'll begin our closing. Breathe. I breathe. Ms. Allen, will you begin your closing statement, please?
The investment of government funds is an important duty of the treasurer. And I once worked for a small city that had about 1/10 of the budget that Redford does. And when I walked in there, they had an investment budget of $42,000. With my expertise, I brought in almost $115,000 to that community. That extra $73,000 could pay for an animal control officer, wages and benefits. You know, if I did this for a small city, think of what I could do for Redford. So Redford voters, I'm asking you to choose professional over political. And please vote for Lynn Ellen for Redford Township Treasurer.
Thank you. Ms. Kavanaugh.
I think if you know me, you know my passion. My passion is to treat my staff the way they should be, to give my staff the equipment that they need now. Not if there's a windfall, but to work within your budget. Within my budget, I take care of all that is needed to be taken care of. I have invested money and have earned at least $56,000 in the last year. This is through doing the research, doing your due diligence, but also there is limited funds out there to be doing this with, because if you invest and you cannot get the money back in a timely fashion, that is also a problem. I think that people in this positions don't have to look at politics.
Thank you. We'd like to thank the candidates who participated in tonight's forum for the Redford Township Treasurer. Welcome again to the Candidates Forum sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Northwest Wayne County. This third part of our forum was meant to have 2 candidates running for the Redford Township Clerk. However, Mr. Adams has notified us that he is withdrawing from the race. Mr. Christie instead will be reading a short statement.
Well, actually, I'll be giving you a report. I intended on giving a campaign speech, but instead of that, I'm going to give you a report on the state of elections in Michigan generally and in Redford Township specifically. And besides, everybody knows I'm a Marine, right? So what do I have to give a campaign speech for? The elimination of straight party voting has clerks throughout the state of Michigan really nervous, even the small community clerks, because it's going to put an additional pressure on your system, no matter whether it's a large system or a small system. So we will be treating the August 2nd primary as a dress rehearsal for the November election. Some things will change, We will have 2 electronic poll books in each precinct. We don't know how to run that yet, but we're going to learn in August. We're going to have what we call line chasers, because one thing that really gums the operation up on these big presidential elections is people showing up at the wrong precinct. And the line chasers will go through the line with a poll book or a tablet and make sure that those people who are in line are in the right precinct. Your usual polling place has not changed. It will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. I have not changed any precinct locations. Clerks are also encouraging people to vote absentee ballot. As usual, my office is open from 10 to 2 the Saturday before an election for absentee ballots, and you can get an absentee ballot the Monday before the election, but up until 4 p.m., but the ballot cannot leave town hall. I am encouraging people who are eligible to vote absentee to vote absentee. People over the age of 60 are eligible for an absentee ballot by virtue of our age. Now that seems unfair, and it is unfair. The other reasons to be eligible for an absentee ballot would be that you are prohibited by your religion from attending the polls. You need assistance to get to the polls. You're in jail, or you expect to be outside of Redford during the entire time the polls are open on election day. Now this one is a little confusing. It could apply to voters who expect to be on vacation, or they're working outside of Redford, a double shift or a shift that will not allow them to vote. I am always recruiting election inspectors, and you can get started on that by contacting my office, 387-2752. And thank you very much to the League of Women Voters for allowing me to give you this special report.
Thank you. Can we please have the trustee candidates up here? Welcome again to the Redford Township Candidates Forum, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Northwest Wayne County. The fourth part of our forum features 12 candidates running for 4 seats on the Redford Township Board of Trustees. Several were unable to attend. They are Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Chess.
I decided to run for the position of Township Trustee so that I could be a contributing member of a team that wants to move Redford Township from good to better to best. Through the campaign process, I am looking forward to meeting community members.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor. I'm sorry, Ms. Petty.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Hi, my name is Jennifer Petty, and I am a Redford resident since 1996. I have one son who attended Redford Union and graduated from there and has moved on to greater and better things. My background is in the legal profession. The last 15 years has been as a paralegal for the Michigan Attorney Discipline Board, where I have become very familiar with ethics and ethical violations and enforcing ethics. I also have my training in paralegal from Oakland University, and I hold degrees in criminal justice and homeland security. And I am currently studying for my certified fraud exam certification. And I think all of this background and my experience would allow me to bring a lot to the board and allow me to better serve Redford, which has been so good to me.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to the League of Women Voters and the Chamber for this opportunity. It's a great opportunity, not just for the voters, but for the candidates alike. There's so many of us up here, to give us an opportunity to know each other and to know where we all stand on the issues that's important to the voters. I'm sure I look familiar to a lot of you out there. You probably see me working with our CERT team, directing traffic for the parades. You've seen me working in the community gardens, helping to plant vegetables for Redford Interfaith Relief. You've seen me attending board meetings too at the Township Board, as well as maybe selling you your beer tickets or pouring your beer at the Redford Township Festival. I'm very involved in the community. I've lived here 27 years with my husband Brian, and we've had our business Homeline Appliance here for 24 years. Service is what I do, it's what I know, it's what I'm passionate about, and that's why I want to be your trustee.
Thank you. Ms. Worth.
Hi, I want to thank everybody from above. I have no government experience. I just, maybe it would bring some new blood to everybody. I've been a resident for 54 years. I graduated from Redford Union, just had my 50th class reunion. My major was in business at Schoolcraft College for computers, and I'm a concerned citizen for Redford and want to help, to maybe help clean things up. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Williams.
Hi, my name is Christopher Williams. I'd like to thank the hosts for this event, and I'm part of the Redford Reform Team. Some of my other colleagues have already stated their objectives for what we want to do. I've been a lifelong resident. 4 generations of my family have lived here. I've been through the Redford Union school system and seen what's happening there. That's an important part, which hasn't really been mentioned a whole lot, but it is a key to getting this township back on its feet again, because young families want to come here, and they want to know that their kids are going to have a school to go to and not get bused all over the place. I don't have any political experiences beyond what I've experienced going to the meetings of the trustees, the Parks Commission. For the last couple of years, I've been attending those to kind of see whether it can be done. I've been to the school board meetings to try and get the word out to people that aren't being informed. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Black, you'll begin with the first question. What do you think is the biggest challenge Redford faces, and what are you going to do about it?
Hello, can you hear me?
That's because I had my other microphone close to you. There we go. Where's the sound person? We're looking for that sound guy. Where is he? Okay, speak.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. What is the most pressing problem facing the township today, and how would you fix it?
What's more than, it's a couple of things. We have some outdated ordinances that need to be updated, like our purchasing agreement, ordinance that need to be updated. We have our blight problem. We have new families that are moving into the community that we need to help them become more integrated with the school system and to make them feel more welcome. We need to invite more businesses into our community. So some of the things that I would do for that is some of the things that I would do to improve on those things were to vote on things that would help generate revenue into our community. We've already mentioned about grants. Grants is they're good, but they're only good until they're only a one-time free money. So we need to have revenue that is constantly coming in. That's why businesses are very important to bring into all those places where we don't have we have vacant property and things like that. We need to have more festivals and. Sorry.
Okay, let's just take a time here for a second. See if we can change the microphone.
I don't know.
Testing.
There's an extra one down here.
Testing.
You want to swap?
This one, yeah, let me try this one.
This is fine, and then we turn it off your mic.
Testing.
Yeah, it did get better, yeah.
Here comes Nick. Nick, comment.
What area now?
If she leans forward, is that going to create an echo that was going to also? Is it green? I of course don't know what that other rumbling sound is in the room. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought trucks were driving under the building.
We're in school, they can't yell at us.
Okay, want to test, say test 1, 2?
1, 2. Is that better? Okay.
Would you like to go again, Ms. Black? It's up to you. You don't have to. You don't have to, we can go on.
I think most of it was clear to everybody.
Did you guys hear me? Do you need me to repeat it?
Okay. We'll go on. Mr. Bonarek, same question. What do you think is the biggest challenge Redford faces, and what are you going to do about it?
Thank you for repeating it after all those mic problems. Well, as earlier candidates said, we just came out of a huge fiscal crisis. And the township for many years was in a state of crisis and was having to cut budgets and slash budgets and make reductions. As we move forward and as our numbers improve and as things look better, we need to make sure that we're not just thinking about today, but that we're also thinking about tomorrow. We need to make sure that the decisions that we are making today are going to position us to take advantage of opportunities that may come our way. We have great resurgence going on in Metro Detroit. We're seeing a huge boom in the housing market. What are we doing to position Redford to make sure that we can take advantage of those people who are looking to buy their first homes, who are looking to take advantage of the energy and the vitality that is in this region and want to move here? That is the #1 priority for us, is to make sure that we are taking advantage of every opportunity that is out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brenner.
Since 1970, at each census taking, the population in Redford Township has gone down by 3,000 people. Every 10 years, 3,000 people. We need to create a community that is quiet and safe to live in. And that's why I suggested earlier that we maintain the police department at a higher level, the fire and rescue department at a higher level, and our water department at a higher level, to make sure that the basic expectations of those who live here can be met to the fullest extent.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson.
I keep hearing from residents that I've spoken with that blight is a real problem in our community. I would set up a Facebook page and work with the ordinance department, and the Facebook page would say Fight the Blight. And what I'd like to do is post the name, address, email address, and phone number of all the business owners who have abandoned property in Redford. I would then encourage every resident in Redford to take a piece of paper the size of a check or a voided check and mail it to these people who own these businesses. And I would encourage you to do it the last 5 days of the month or the first 5 days of the next month, because these people tend to open multiple property and they have to get checks at the beginning of the month. They would have to open every piece of mail to see if it was a check or just a note from us that says cut your grass or fix your dilapidated property.
Thank you. Ms. Kangas.
I've been in a unique position over the years to talk to a lot of people in our community, and one of the biggest issues that I have heard that we have faced are problems with our juveniles. We do not have a juvenile court system to address the problems and the issues that are facing our adolescents, and they're prime targets for negative influence. Communities that do have a juvenile court system have control and have resources and programs to help turn those kids around and put them on a positive path. We need this in Redford Township, and I will work tirelessly to make sure we have something in place so that we can keep our juveniles in our township and we can address their problems. A community that stays together, focuses together, and solves their problems together gets stronger and better.
Thank you. Ms. Petty.
Okay.
Breathe.
Okay. Thank you. The biggest problem I've been seeing and hearing has been the crisis that led to such a loss of families from our community, which led to vacant homes, leading to blight, and eventually does lead to crime. when you have these vacant properties. And what I would like to see or propose is re-engaging the neighborhood organizations, getting, if we can police certain areas, getting the community neighbors involved and engaging with the police department, doing some community policing so that we can each look at our own area, because we know best what's going on in our own neighborhoods. Getting that together, getting that information to the police would aid them in targeting these certain areas.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor.
Touching a little bit on what Adam said about growth, I see all this incredible growth going on in Detroit, and it's so inspiring. And then we see all this growth going on just a mile down the road in Livonia, and we're kind of sandwiched in between the two. And it just feels that we've kind of been glanced over when it comes to businesses. And I'd really like to see, I know Mike Dennis has got his hands full with the community development department on the residential side. I'd really like to see that department build up more on the commercial side to where we can really seek out new businesses to come to Redford Township. I'd love to see some anchor stores, anchor grocery stores, restaurants. I can't tell you how giddy I was to see Planet Fitness open up here. It was so exciting just to have such a big company invest in Redford Township, and I'd like to see more of that, because I truly believe if you build it, they will come. So that's what we need to do.
Thank you. Ms. Worth.
Hi, thank you. I did see a Dollar Tree open just recently on 6 Mile, so that's a positive thing. Yes, and I agree about getting the kids more involved in things. I see it on my street constantly. Also, to get more police involved in the neighborhoods, get rid of some of these drug houses. Go after the owners of these homes, just not the tenants, because you know they're renters. Go after the owners and have them get involved in cleaning up these homes and getting rid of the cars and get the grass cut and whatever it has to be. I feel that's very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Williams.
Yeah, as far as issues, why we may see decline, I mean, it kind of, like I said before, some of it has to do with the state of the schools, some of it has to do with the state of properties in the township. Part of that is due to the ordinances or lack of being able to enforce them. I think they're there. I just think, they need to bolster that to be able to enforce it. And mirroring some of the other comments, there's a lot of people in the public that are saying, why is my street all broken up? Why aren't they getting that fixed? And why are they making me pay all this money to fix the sidewalks when they're really, that's not the heart of the issue. It's the blight and the lack of a good, strong school system. I think all that really needs to get brought up to snuff, and I think people will come here, and I think the problem will solve itself. When we give them something that they're worth wanting to stay here for. Sorry.
Thank you. Mr. Bonerick. Public safety is an issue in Redford. Recently, we have been in the news not for good reasons, but for bad. How would you work with the police department to keep Redford residents safe?
I'm sorry, would you repeat that? I didn't know you were talking to me at first.
No, actually, I think she was talking to me.
Mr.
But
It's okay, you're next, I promise.
Well, that's a fantastic question, and I know it is certainly a question that is on the minds of every resident in this community. I think our fire departments and our police department are fantastic, and having had the opportunity to work with members of both, it is inspiring and incredible the dedication that they have to this community. When I've had the opportunity to talk to Chief Paul, or to Sergeant Gregg, or to Officer Mansfield, who are all involved in various activities throughout the community, what I hear from them is that there is great energy and desire from the residents here to be involved and to take positive action to make sure that Redford continues to grow and be stronger and be safer. We have groups like the Neighborhood Watch and the CERT team here in the community that are doing fantastic things. We need to continue to encourage and promote those programs and continue to support our police department to make sure that it is fully staffed and able to serve us for years to come.
Thank you. Mr. Brenner, did you?
Yeah, the basics, fire department, police department. We need to make sure that they are rewarded for the work that they do. And I want everybody here to know that the first 4.5 years of my work life, I worked for the Detroit Police Department. I know what goes on behind the scenes and what those officers put on the line every day. And I'm sure that our firefighters and rescue workers never know what they're going to run into, and they need to be provided for just as equally as the fire department. And I hope that if anything comes up on the ballot for you to vote on to promote that, I would encourage all of you to vote in favor of anything that will support fire and police.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson.
I think our current fire and police department do a great job of community interactions, particularly the police department. I think from a budgetary standpoint, we should make sure that we give our fire and police department everything that they need to do the job to keep us safe. Safe, clean neighborhoods is something that we all want, and I think our budget should reflect that to make sure that we pay for the services that we expect from our police and fire department.
Thank you. Ms. Kangas.
I think we all can agree public safety is a top priority. You can't attract new families, you can't attract new businesses without a safe community. Having a safe community costs money, and I believe our township, the residents want to invest in a stronger police department, in a stronger fire department, and we need to beef up volunteerism. We have the neighborhood community watch program, but it's in pockets. It's not township-wide. Not every neighborhood is represented. We can do more in that area to support our police and fire department by having a stronger neighborhood watch.
Thank you. Ms. Petty.
I agree with Ms. Kangas. It's the exact same point I was making. I have a friend in the Detroit Police Department that has mentioned to me the fact that they've seen that a lot of the crime along our border with Detroit, they seem to be running into Redford, in the actual pursuit. And I would rather see our neighborhoods, as you said, updating the neighborhood communication, getting every neighborhood represented so that the police can concentrate on those borders, coming from that crime, stopping that, as well as keeping us, aiding them and helping them be their eyes where they need to have their eyes elsewhere. And that was of a concern to me when it's even known to Detroit. It's coming into our side here.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor.
Could you repeat the question again, please?
Sure. Public safety is an issue in Redford. Recently, we have been in the news, not for good reasons, but for bad. How would you work with the police department to keep Redford residents safe?
Well, I've been in the unique position that I've already been working with the police department for the last 4 years. I ran the campaign for the Special Assessment District and helped the police officers maintain at least 10 officers' jobs by having that district pass, as well as 19 paramedics that were at risk of losing their jobs if that district didn't pass. I've kept in touch with them over the last 4 years and attended all the budget study sessions to make sure that that SAD money is spent the way that it's supposed to be spent to support both the police and fire. The last I talked with Chief Paul, he would like to start a neighborhood enforcement team full-time. He doesn't have the staff to do that yet, but is looking forward to being fully staffed so he can get more detectives on the street on a full-time basis. He also would like to hire some more detectives. He has 8 right now, which he's comfortable with, but more, they have a huge caseload. So more would be good for the detectives to help work those cases as well. And such a big issue.
Thank you. Ms. Worth.
Pardon me. Yes, I agree on a lot of the stuff that the candidates are coming up with. Thinking that maybe we could get an anonymous hotline that the neighbors could actually call and say, hey, this is what's going on, that we need somebody right away, or possibly we could get some cadets that are coming out of the police academy that can go around and help them, like part-time, you know, not, and change it around all the time so it's never the same person. I think that would help as far as people coming, you know, they're driving around in the neighborhoods where the police can go on where they're supposed to be on the streets, major things, and then the cadets could do the neighborhood drumming up things, you know, tickets and what have you, and feel a little more secure. Thank you.
Mr. Williams.
Yeah, I think our police and fire are doing a great job. I think it would help, like other folks have mentioned, these neighborhood associations and stuff like that would be a great asset for them to have access into each of those little pockets. It would individualize, and they could specialize where they're seeing more areas of issues, if there's more blight in a certain area, if there's more traffic by certain groups of people that, you know, may not be the best kinds to have there. I think that's all stuff that they can coordinate with a neighborhood watch group, and everybody can feel safe. You know, they can go on vacation, know that their neighbors that they actually talk to, they know who they are. I would enhance all that, and I think that's a good solution.
Thank you. And Ms. Black.
I kind of agree with like everybody else is saying, like how the police and fire department are doing a great job. When it comes to neighborhood safety, I believe that it has a lot to do with the community, us all working together. I think we need to have maybe more education on what neighborhood safety is and what it looks like to us, and for us to start to build on that. I think we need to talk to our young people more about neighborhood safety and things that they can do to help, you know, make sure that they're staying safe. So I know it's a lot of prostitution and trafficking going on, and we would like to improve on that. So we come together as a community, and I believe with the neighborhood associations, that would be a good place to start. My neighborhood watch, maybe we can redefine neighborhood watch and have maybe, like say, more people get involved or have different ways to do the neighborhood watch. Maybe we need cameras in our community. I think all those things will be very helpful.
Thank you. Mr. Brenner, would you make any changes to the ordinances dealing with blight, and what can be done about the high percentage of rentals in the township?
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing that well.
Would you make any changes to the ordinances dealing with blight, and what can be done about the high percentage of rentals in the township?
The high percentage of
Rentals.
restaurants?
Rentals.
Rentals. Oh. I guess it all gets back to losing those 3,000 people every 10 years. People move. Whoever buys the home necessarily doesn't buy it to live here. They buy it as an investment. And once they take ownership and once they pay their taxes, there's not a whole lot we can do about that.
And then they also talked about any changes to the ordinance dealing with blight. I didn't know if you heard that one. Would you make any changes to the ordinances dealing with blight?
As I said earlier, I'm not a politician. I don't know what the ordinances are here in Redford on blight. I'm sure we are enforcing them as tough as we can. But as I heard from prior speeches here by other candidates, they're doing the best that they can.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson.
It's been mentioned earlier that one of the ordinances that we have allows up to 3 years before some of this foreclosed property, rental property. I would encourage home ownership. If there are programs that are available, we need to make everyone aware that this is a house that they can buy. We need to look at doing rent-to-own programs that can encourage home ownership versus rentals. The rentals that we do have, we need to encourage the people to be part of our community and make the best of the situation that they have. Some people choose to rent, others have to rent, but we need to do everything that we can to encourage home ownership and reduce the number of rentals in our community.
Thank you. Ms. Kangas.
We live in a free country, so to speak, so you can't tell people they can't buy a home and rent it out. As Ms. Jackson pointed out, with partnerships and planning, we can work on developing programs to encourage home ownership, partnering with real estate agents, again, trying to encourage home ownerships. We have a SNAP program that also helps move people into home ownership, and I'm sure there's more that we can do. Blight, we have ordinances in place. I think we need to do an audit of our ordinance, see what ordinances are effective, what's working, what's not. We also need to look at, with the ordinance program and the ordinance enforcement, how are some escaping getting rectified and how others are being solved. And that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Petty.
Okay. Well, as far as ordinances, I've seen that the township has already started on working on the blight by shortening the time period for reporting vacant properties due to the foreclosures and such. And what I would probably propose too is when we have, or keep a record, as the gentleman to my right pointed out, about absentee landlords or people who buy these homes and rent them out, that's fine, but keep a record of them so that when reports come in of problems with that property, of tenants that aren't maintaining, we hold the landlord accountable, call them back in. They can't just be hands-off. And sometimes the tenants are doing all that they can, and if the landlord's not around, somebody's got to be held accountable on that.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor.
Touching on the SNAP program is working to create more homeowners than renters, so that is a program that's already working for us. I think sometimes renters get a bad rap. I have renters in my neighborhood that do take pride in their homes and take care of their properties. When I think it comes to blight, I take a different perspective that as a neighborhood watch captain, when you get to learn more about your neighbors and know their situation, sometimes the blight is out of their control. So I think that if we just get to know our neighbors a little bit better, we might be able to help them if they need their lawn mowed, if they need their trash taken out. It might just be a case of neighbor helping neighbor before we turn it over and make it a township issue. I think it really needs to be more of a resident-to-resident helping each other out issue first before it goes to that level of turning them into ordinance.
Thank you. Ms. Worth.
As far as the blight goes, yes, we do have those problems. We also have the renters. We have the renters who, people that own the homes, that I know of a case across the street. He complains of his furnace and the owner just will not fix it and he won't even show up. This is the kind of stuff that needs to be accountable for. I think it's sad. We're going to lose a good neighbor because of him. And that would go back to what I also mentioned as far as having these cadets roam the neighborhood and hey, maybe he sees something and maybe these people can go and talk to him, or there's phone numbers that they can call and get the help that they need. I think it's sad that there's those cases. Then the other case that there's owners that do take care of it and make it look bad, not make it look bad, but I think they need to have a level right there, getting together. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Williams.
Yes, as far as what's going on as far as blight, I think we need to go through and audit our own ordinances and then take a look and see what's working in other communities. There's obviously something's out there that does work because a lot of communities have gone through the cycle that we've gone through in the past and they've recovered to a level that people are flocking there, and that's what I would say. Just we have to look at other communities and see what they've done and just go over our books and see what works and what doesn't work right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Black.
Well, one of the things I like to talk about as far as the blight is to look at it in a different way. I would like to create an ordinance to you know, when we have landowners that come and buy these homes, that they should have contracts with companies that will come and cut the grass. And they should include that into the renter's price. That way the renter doesn't have to be responsible for that. It makes it that the landowner is responsible for it. But if they're contracted to do the people or the companies that cut the grass, then maybe that'll happen more. Also, another suggestion could be, let's get our kids involved. I remember kids just always shovel snow and come cut grass. That would be a great way to get them into community and making money if they can connect with some of those landlords, excuse me. As far as I'm sorry, that question, the blight.
The blight, correct.
Oh, the blight.
Did you make any changes to the ordinances dealing with blight?
No, I'm sorry, she stopped at the time.
Mr. Bonnerak.
So first about blight. There's multiple things here. For one, we need to make sure that rental properties are being properly reported to the township. I have heard Director Salmi say before that if somebody doesn't tell him that a rental property is a rental property, then he doesn't have any way necessarily of knowing that. If he knows that it is a rental property, he will make sure that the property is reviewed. He will make sure that the property is being watched and that guidelines are being followed. So if you see a property that isn't being properly maintained, you need to make sure that it is reported so that we can follow those processes. I want to touch for just a quick second on the SNAP program, because the work that Director Dennis has done has been incredible and has been a model for many other communities who have come to us asking for advice. And just last week, I got to have a tour of some of the properties that are being renovated under that program. That program has brought hundreds of thousands of dollars in increased value to our community, and it is a stellar program that is working wonders.
Thank you. Our next question will begin with Ms. Jackson. How will you represent the full diversity of the township and treat all citizens with respect and transparency, and how do you engage these residents more?
I would encourage the residents to spend more time and come to the board meetings and give us their comments and feedback. It's a lot easier for us to address your concerns if you told us what they are. As a trustee, I think it's up to us to also go out into the community, talk to citizens, and find out what it is they think is important that we should be addressing. I think any legislation that we do should reflect the will of the people, but the people have to tell us what that will should be. I think we need to also engage with our business owners to make sure that we have ordinance and legislation that make a user-friendly environment for our businesses and encourage them to not only stay at their current level, but also to increase over time, to increase the number of employees that they have.
Thank you. Ms. Kangas.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. How will you represent the full diversity of the township and treat all citizens with respect and transparency, and how will you engage these residents?
Well, representing the residents is making sure that you're speaking for the whole township rather than just a few pockets of it. Engaging them is, as Ms. Jackson pointed out, is going out into the community, being present at events in both, all around, for many organizations, from the Redford Chamber of Commerce to school activities to community presentations. There's many opportunities that we have in the community to be present, to communicate, and to develop relationships with our constituents.
Thank you. Ms. Petty.
I would encourage every resident to take advantage of social media, and I would like to see the trustees in constant contact with the residents through that. If it's just a forum of posting, getting their concerns down and addressing them. I would like to see if we get these neighborhood organizations back, then meeting with them possibly once a month, or at least taking their temperature of their communities once a month, so we make sure that we are addressing their needs all around. And again, I think the best way to serve the people is to be accessible to the people.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor?
Representing everybody in the community, the diversity would mean representing everybody as a township resident, not as a South Redford resident or an RU resident or as a renter or as an owner. It doesn't matter, you live here in the township. There's a theme that we should all be one. It should be unity. And to represent everybody fairly is to not look at those differences. Inviting people to come out to the wonderful community events that we already have. We have the Redford Township Festival coming up. We have Oktoberfest. They're great places to meet your neighbors and new friends in the community. Get involved in the churches. We have over 30 of them here in the township. Getting involved in your neighborhood watch, meeting your neighbors, which is an old concept and one that's long overdue, I think could help drop a lot of those barriers that tend to be in place unnecessarily.
Thank you. Ms. Worth.
I think goes back to having like an email set up, a hotline, have some of your social events that you have coming up, have a box there where you can, anybody can drop a comment in and say whatever they feel is on their mind, that it can come back to the trustees. For the people that can't make it to the meetings, there's got to be some way that these other people can get their voice their opinion out there. There's just a lot of people that can't get out. I have a neighbor who's on crutches. She can't make the meetings, but she could, and she doesn't really use her computer, but she could go on a hotline or and voice her opinion.
Thank you. Mr. Williams.
Well, I don't think there's a whole lot more I can add to that. Everybody's covered pretty much all the avenues. I think all those should be explored, you know, opening it up so that everybody has the potential to make contact and have their voice heard. For me right now, I do the slow roll. People just come out, get a little exercise, but that's something I'm going to continue in the future, and they can get a hold of me whenever that event is, every week or whenever it occurs. They can voice their opinion to me about what they see as issues. I've already started getting some feedback, and since I let them know that I was running, and I think everything that everybody said, the communities and the neighborhoods, that's all the best way to handle it. Just make everybody so they feel part of the community.
Thank you. Ms. Black?
Well, I like to see our neighborhood associations start thriving again. I started calling the neighborhood associations. We had 9 of them that was open. It's only like 4 or 5 that's actually up and running, and still they only meet like every couple of months. So, like I said, just getting to know your neighbors and our neighborhood associations together. When we come, I think we need different types of festivals to have that is a reflection of different cultures. And just do more community events together, but something that can invite everybody and young people and and things that reflect our community and the people that's in the community more. I think we should do a survey to really ask people, like, what do you really want to do? I think the mindset in the township has changed, so I think there's different types of opinions and different things of what people might be interested in than what's been here currently.
Thank you. Mr. Bonarek.
Last year, when I was serving as a vice president for Junior Chamber International, I was assigned to several countries that were French-speaking and Spanish-speaking, and I speak neither. And the number one thing that I learned in that whole trip from working with these people, even through a language barrier, is that people are people, and people want to be treated as people. And kind of going back to what others have said, it doesn't matter whether you live in the north or the south, you're a renter, you're a homeowner, a business owner or not, we need to remember that people are people and we're all part of this community and we should all want to make this community better. So being out there and being engaged is the number one way for us to do that. The other thing that I have thought for a long time that I would love to see if we can find a way to make this happen is a true community calendar. All too often, we have events happening between the churches and the neighborhood watch and events like this and the schools that all seem to conflict with each other. Tonight's a perfect example with the township-wide neighborhood watch meeting going on at the same time. We need a better calendar.
Thank you. Mr. Brenner.
Government has become a very bad word in our society today, as some of you may agree. On a national level, government is seen as untrustworthy, and I think that attitude has kind of spilled over into local jurisdictions. Somehow government is becoming less and less important. Let me just share an example. I was in the 6 Mile and Beach Daily area not too long ago. I was doing my campaigning with handout material, and I approached a woman who was very well dressed, and I assume was could be responsive to a conversation. And I handed out my material, and I said I'm a candidate for trustee, running in the August primary. And she said, she took it from me, and she said,
"Thank you.
What office is that?" And I said, "Trustee."
Thank
She
you. I have to
she
tell
gave
the
it back,
story
and
after
she
Mr.
said, "I don't vote for the little things."
Thank you, Mr. Brown. You'll have to tell that story in the hall after. Ms. Kangas, we'll start the next question with you. Well, I'll be reading.
Well, the person who's in charge of this thing.
Take your time. Let me see. We're having technical difficulties.
We're having technical difficulties.
Let's see, I'm gonna pull
Get another one going.
Okay, I actually have one on my phone here, so I'll keep going while you get that fixed.
Okay, wait a minute. It's happening again.
Ready?
Yeah.
Ms. Kangas, how will you help Redford's residential and commercial residency grow?
The first part when you're growing any program is developing relationships. You have to sit down, meet with people, listen to their concerns, listen to their ideas, and see where you can take a little bit of everything that everybody's saying and you plant it and you grow it. Without knowing what those needs are, I can't articulate in details, but that's how you would start growing the residential and the businesses.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Petty.
Building on what Ms. Kangas said, it's exactly the point. I would go to taking input from current businesses in Redford, find out what they find lacking or what they think would be of interest to them, what they would like to see, what would be, what do we call that? Enticing, something that would want them to bring their roots here. Same thing with the residents. What is it about the community? What is it that might need to be changed or addressed? What ordinances might be blocking a business from coming in? That's where we would need the input from the people already here. They've got the experience, they could best advise us.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor.
As a trustee, I would give Mike Dennis, our community development director, the biggest budget I possibly could and say, go for it. Do everything you can with it. Because he's the man, he's got the expertise. He would know how to get it done. He could hire some people on the commercial side of it. I know he handles a lot on the residential side. I don't know how he even has time to even look at the commercial side to get some of those buildings filled, especially some of the bigger ones that we have, like on Easter Road. So it would just be, as a trustee, my only power would be to provide Mike with the tools in the budget that he would need to be able to get the job done.
Thank you. Ms. Worth.
Oh, gee, I kind of agree with what they've already been saying. You'd have to talk to the business owners to see what their concerns are. like the one lady said, and just go from there. And then go back and report to the trustees and to the board and let them take it from there, and give the people there, what they need, the tools that they need to get this stuff done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Williams.
Yeah, I think it still goes back to, I think someone else touched on it. We need to entice young families to come here. And as that goes, it'll feed on itself. The businesses will come because they know where the dollars are being spent. The dollars are going to hopefully be spent close to home. Right now, people are going all over the place, to spend their money. They go to Walmart's, because it's convenient. They can get everything they want. Well, if we can give them everything they want in our community, I think that'll just feed itself and spiral in a positive direction.
Thank you. Ms. Black.
Yeah, I believe that we need to, have like a one-stop. We have that kind of like on Telegraph and in certain areas in the community. But we need more businesses that, that people will want to come here and shop. People kind of use Redford Township as a go-through to get to everything else. And we want people to come here and stop and be here. But you have to, like I say, make it enticing for the companies that want to come here and build here. We have to make space, and the ordinances need to be updated for that. For families, it's all about the school system. What is our schools offering? What would make a young family want to come and stay here and then shop here and live here and then continue to work here? So jobs are important also. But if you bring in businesses, then jobs will come.
Thank you. Mr. Brenner. I'm sorry, Mr. Bonarek.
Thank you. First, I would focus on working with the Chamber of Commerce because I think they're going to have the best pulse for the needs of the business community today and should have ideas and recommendations for how to move forward. Then I would give Director Dennis an unlimited budget and find a way, if money grew on trees, and find a way to clone him because I think we could probably benefit from having multiple of him. There is so much work that can be done in that area, and he does a fantastic job, but he is only one person. Then I would look at how are we positioning ourselves as a township? What is our reputation? Are we marketing ourselves properly? Are we properly identifying the demographics and the target for who we want to go after and bring here? I personally think we should probably be focused on small business owners and startups. Why can't we be the destination stop for people on their way into or out of downtown Detroit for the evening? Focus on those restaurants, focus on those one-of-a-kind shops, and bring that type of business and energy here to Redford.
Thank you. Mr. Brenner.
I market Redford Township by what I say. I tell my story. I've lived here over 30 years. We bought our house after we were married and raised three children here. 2 of them graduated from Redford Union. My wife graduated from Redford Union. My 2 granddaughters graduated from Redford Union. Both of those granddaughters are in college. One of them is leaving in July because she just got her degree in elementary education and she's going to be teaching in the Dominican Republic. What kind of a story is that? And it all got started right here in Redford. No special treatment. We just lived our lives as we felt we should, and the values that were developed there, I am proud to share with anybody that wants to talk about living or working in Redford.
Thank you. Due to time constraints, unfortunately, we still have a lot of questions that we didn't get to, but I'm going to start. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Jackson. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. How will you help Redford's residential and commercial residency grow?
I think we have an excellent community, and we do, as Mr. Brenner said, we need to let people know that we love living here, that we have excellent neighbors, and a great community. Small businesses in Redford, as residents, we should support our small businesses. We have a hardware store right there on 5 Mile. They may cost 50 cents or $1 more than Home Depot, but we need to go there and make sure that we support them as a business. And we need to do that with all of our restaurants and other small businesses. As been mentioned before, we need to talk to the businesses that are here and make sure that our ordinances are user-friendly and encourage them to stay in our community.
Great, thank you very much. I just want to, unfortunately, we have run out of time, so we're going to start the closing arguments from that side. On the other side, we started from this side opening, that side closing. Mr. Williams, can you please begin your
I'd just like to thank everybody again, the hosts for this. I think we have a great opportunity to continue forward with the great progress that's been made already. I mean, it's a lot of little things that still have to get taken care of, but I think with the fresh set of folks that are going to come out of this group, I don't see why it can't be done. And I think everybody that's here should continue to have their input at the trustee meetings and the township board meetings. And that should help everything move along in a positive direction. And I think we can achieve all the goals that we've discussed this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Worth.
Pardon me, I agree. I think we need some fresh blood. I think the fresh blood will help us move along, even if we do half of our goals, and it'll make Redford much better. Gosh, I can't even think, I'm sorry. We just need some fresh blood, and I'm sorry to repeat that. And I want to thank everybody for taking the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor.
Brian and I moved here 27 years ago, and it was our intention, excuse me, that this was just going to be our starter home until we could afford something else. And here we are 27 years later. We've raised 2 kids. We have a business here in the township for the last 24 years, and I love this community. I love it. We could have left and gone to Howell 15 years ago, but we stayed because I love the small town feel. I love being deeply involved in the community. There's so many good people here. Being a JC, being a chamber member, a CERT team member, which I'm a newly CERT team member now for about a year and a half, joining the Citizens Police Academy, I find that getting involved in the community invests you in the community, and becoming your trustee is just another way for me to be of service to you and to get even more involved with the community that I love so much.
Thank you. Ms. Petty?
Okay, I do want to thank everyone for coming out and taking the time from your evening to listen to all of our views. And I'd like to thank the League and the Chamber again for having us here. And overall, I'm very encouraged by everything I've been hearing from the people and the candidates up here, because I think we're all on the same page. We know this is a great community. We have been here for many years, and we want to see it succeed. And I think just getting on that same page is the right start. And I think looking to what other communities are doing, where they work toward a centralized downtown, we've done a great start of that with the Marquee, which I love, and getting it built out and spread from there. I think we can really, really make Redford the heart.
Thank you. Ms. Kangas.
My friends over the years who live in other cities have always asked me or suggested that my family and I should move. Or they want to know, why do I stay? And I said, I love my town. Where else can you go? Anywhere you go, you know your neighbor, whether it's in the grocery store. Everybody see me drive my van down Beach Daily back and forth. It's nice to know that no matter where your kids go, because of our size, we know our neighbors. I want to be a part of the continuous improvement of Redford, growing Redford to be a better community, a stronger community, where it's safe to raise a family, attract new businesses, and I believe I have the skill set that can do the job. And I'm also honored to say that I am endorsed by the Firefighters Union.
losing track of when you stop.
Okay.
Ms. Jackson?
One of the reasons that I'm running for trustee is to make sure that we keep financial integrity with the city. The township. The township has to be on a solid financial footing in order for us to accomplish all of the things that we've talked about here. I've listened to the candidates throughout the evening, and I see plenty of opportunities for me, not only as a trustee, but as a resident of Redford, to get more involved in the community and to work with the organizations that currently exist that are already working to improve our community. There are plenty of opportunities for us to take advantage of to help us work and grow and become a much more consolidated community. And I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and for the opportunity to listen to us. And hopefully you've decided.
Thank you. Mr. Brenner?
Let me quickly go over my background and let you all decide whether I might fit in as a trustee. 4.5 years with the Detroit Police Department, 6 years with the Michigan Army National Guard, 32 years with Comerica Bank, 6 years at Redford Union, school board member, community service in Lions Club, Rotary Club, Westland Merchants Association, Dearborn Orchestral Society, Village Builders of Northwest Detroit, 8th Precinct Community Organization, Brightmoor Alliance, Aim High Advisory Council, Hope Park Association, Treasurer of Restoration Tower, and Redford Union Treasurer for 5 years. School board initiatives, special education transportation change, wrote the policy on election date change, wrote the policy on student representation on the school board, wrote the policy on student suspension and expulsion, drafted a resolution for an academic varsity letter, drafted new bylaws about board member compensation.
Thank you, Mr. Bonner. I'm sorry, Mr. Brenner. Mr. Bonner, you're next.
First, I just want to say thank you again to our host for this evening and to all of you for coming out to tonight's candidate forum. It has been a privilege and an honor to be here. I love living in this community. I love the fact that through involvement in organizations like the JCs, the Neighborhood Watch, and the Parks Commission and CERT, that I run into people that I know all the time. It makes you feel so invested in the community. It makes you feel so connected. And I want to be able to take that to the next level by serving as a township trustee. I'm also very honored to be able to announce as well that I too have been endorsed by the local firefighters union. As we move forward, I hope that you have noticed that all of my answers have been about planning for Redford's tomorrow today. I want to make sure that no matter what we do, we are taking advantage of the opportunities that are in front of us, and we are working towards having a better and a brighter future, not just today, but also for tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Black?
I would like to thank everybody for coming out and the Women's League of Voters for having us. I've lived in this town, like I said, for over 5 years, and the community have always embraced me. And I've learned so much from living here. And my daughter, she went here to Thursday, and she just loved everything about the community. I look forward to working with the community and curating growth, supporting the schools and the businesses in our community. I will continue promoting safe neighborhoods, and I would make sure that I will vote on things that will affect the growth for the Redford Township. I'm open to any ideas, and I look forward to being your trustee if you vote for me on August 2nd. Thank you.
We'd like to thank the candidates who participated in tonight's forum in Redford Township. We thank the Redford Chamber of Commerce and Thurston High School for allowing us to use this facility. The forums tonight have been videotaped and will be available soon on the websites of the Redford Chamber of Commerce, whose website is redfordchamber.com, and the League of Women Voters, whose website is lwvnorthwestwayne.org. We also thank the candidates for their willingness to serve the public and for the audience for such thoughtful questions. All of the Redford Township candidates were also invited to participate in the League of Women Voters Voter Guide, a publication that you can access online by visiting vote411.org in early July or by picking up a copy at the Redford Library. Primary election day is August 2nd, and the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. You will be asked for a picture ID when you go to vote, but if you do not have a picture ID or don't have it with you, you can still vote by signing an affidavit of identity. Remember that, because there are no Republican candidates running for any of the township positions, the winners of the August primary will also be the November election winners. This concludes our forum this evening. Good luck to the candidates. Thank you for coming, and remember to vote on August 2nd.